Let's talk about life after Netflix.
Life after Netflix is really different, actually. I'm still absolutely the same person that I used to be, but more people have watched the documentary than listened to the podcast that came before that, which is why the documentary was made. And it's been a different reaction because I think more people watch Netflix and they watch it for entertainment rather than education. I mean, victim shaming is one of the reasons I decided to speak or did the podcast in the first place.
What's something you didn't expect to happen after the show aired?
Like I said, that immediate backlash. Some certain prominent figures speaking out against me. That was the most negative, I think. Predominantly, all the victim shaming online came from our community there. And a lot of people from other communities have actually said to me, you know, your community is vile, which upsets me because we're not really, but we can be difficult.
When they say that, what do you mean?
Speaking negatively about, I shouldn't be doing this, I've brought shame to the community by talking about something like this, or I must have been stupid, or, you know, all those things. They've obviously not taken the time to understand.
Do you ever, regret doing the show?
It hasn't made my life easy. Other negatives is that the PTSD is flared up after the documentary. It didn't change as a society with social media. I don't think I have ever, on social media anywhere, gone out and written a nasty comment about anybody. There's no need to humiliate anyone. There's a way of saying things which doesn't humiliate people, which isn't nasty. You don't need to make anyone feel less themselves.
Yeah. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Unfiltered Podcast, where we take the eye out of unfiltered and put the emphasis directly on you. This is the one platform where we get to take down our filters and have raw, authentic and vulnerable conversations in regards to the challenges that we're all facing today. Now, if you're a fan of the unfiltered nature of this podcast and you want more of these conversations that I have on the show to be normalized, why don't you help me help you? To get more guests on and to have those difficult conversations in regards to the challenges we're all facing, I have to know what it is that you specifically want us to speak about. So if it isn't too much to ask, why don't you hit that subscribe button right now? And at the end of the episode, if it's been a hit for you, why don't you leave a thumbs up and leave a cheeky review in regards to what specifically resonates with you. Now, with that all being said and done, let's get straight back into the episode. Kirat, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Did I scare you on the train? Just thinking.
Well, do you know something? I keep getting little approaches like that, so I'm kind of quite relaxed about it now. But then when I realised it was you, it's like, oh, that's nice.
I was thinking, do I do this? Do I not? Oh, shit. But it'd be rude if I just sat on the opposite side, got off the same station and did not say hello to you. So I thought it'd be the nicest thing to do, just to introduce myself there and then.
No, that's nice.
No, thank you for reaching out and wanting to come unfiltered. We're going to have some fun with this today.
I think we are. Thank you for having me, actually.
You've been in this chair before. I've listened to your podcast before with Shivani.
That's right. Yeah.
That was a very, very interesting episode, and we're not going to go into some of the stuff that you spoke about there. But I did want to... I did have a number of questions I wanted to ask you, because I feel like you're probably the perfect person to speak to in regards to some of the backlash that comes about from things that possibly we didn't intend for these things to happen, but unfortunately, based on people's opinions, based on our community, it honestly creates a backlash, and it's not fun, it's not fair. Yet you are still dealing with it every day, and power to you for doing that.
Thank you.
Before we get into that, let's talk about life after Netflix.
Life after Netflix is really different, actually. Well, it is and it isn't. I'm still absolutely the same person that I used to be. But more people have watched the documentary than listened to the podcast that came before that, which is why the documentary was made. And it's been a different reaction because lots of people, I think more people watch Netflix and they watch it for entertainment rather than education.
Yeah.
So it's just been a different kind of response. Face to face, most people are fine with me. Like, I've had no bad face to face dealings or anything like that. What's written online across socials, that's particularly nasty. That's quite hurtful. But I don't read it. But what I have done is I have checked I check all the DMs that I get. I check the emails that I get from the website. And I've had thousands, and the response there has actually been really nice. Only, I think 8 bad ones, and one of them managed to turn around. There's been lots of neutral ones, which are just weird, which, is worrying, if that's what we're like as a society, where people just take a screenshot of their TV and say, I'm watching you. There's lots of that. And it's just like, why would you do that?
Yeah, it sounds a bit weird.
It's just like, why?
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's stuff like that. But in terms of life, I mean, I think people are upset for me, around me.
Yeah.
So they're a bit like trying to protect me. And I'm like, don't treat me differently because I'm still the same person. If you treat me differently, other people will treat me differently. So there's that. The backlash from our community, given I predominantly now work within our community and I've always been active in our community. Do you know, it's sad because obviously the ones that write the nasty stuff haven't got a clue who I am, what I do, what I'm about. It's fine. But I think it speaks more to them than anybody else. I mean, victim shaming is one of the reasons I decided to speak or did the podcast in the first place. When I had the chance to do that, or when that came to me, that was one of the things that I wanted to tackle. Why are we so ashamed about talking about these things?
No, I hear you. Like, what's something you didn't expect to happen after the show aired?
Like I said, that immediate backlash. Some certain prominent figures speaking out against me. That was the most negative, I think. I feel sad for our community because predominantly all the victim shaming online came from our community, which is sad. But I think generally discounting those people that don't know anything, that just want to be part of something, I think, it's been really good. Even people who, like, I often talked about the family politics, which came in the way of what was going on. Even all those people are now talking to me and are really, really supportive.
Yeah.
It's been pleasantly surprised by all the support that I've had from corners that I never expected.
Do you ever regret doing the show?
The documentary?
Yeah.
It hasn't made my life easy. I mean, one of the other negatives is that the PTSD's flared up after the documentary. It didn't happen after the podcast, but it's happened after the documentary. So sleepless nights, little noises freaking me out, scaring me, knocks on the door I can't handle. So little weird things. But I mean, for all the negativity that happened out there, and a lot of people from other communities have actually said to me, your community is vile, which upsets me because we're not really, but we can be difficult.
When they say that, what do you mean?
For the people in our own community speaking negatively about, I shouldn't be doing this, I've brought shame to the community by talking about something like this, or I must have been stupid, or all those things. They've obviously not taken the time to understand, which is fine, but I don't want our community to be seen like that. And I'm not I think I forgot what I was going to say now. Give me a question again.
About regretting doing the show.
For me, I think personally, given all of that stuff for me have to deal with myself, I wish I didn't have to. The podcast would have then been enough.
Yeah.
Because that gave me a voice back.
Yeah.
But for the people that it's helped out there who hadn't heard the podcast and have been approaching me, and for all the people that have said, can you help me? Or because of this, I've just realised my partner is, or, all those things that have happened, all the thank yous, all the few people, or few hundred thousands of people that it's helping across the world, for them, it's worthwhile, isn't it?
For sure. No,
it
for
makes
sure.
them not feel alone. It makes them feel okay that they're not, they're not stupid. People are out there to get you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So for their sake, and it's what I've always said, it's to help, whatever I do, it's to help people, help to create that change. For their sake, no. For my sake, maybe. But yeah.
I hear that. No. I hear that. I watched the show and I had my unfiltered opinions around it. And that's to be completely honest and transparent with you. But I also went through my own, if you want to call it, chapter of being catfished. Happened when I was just about to go to uni. So I was in 2012. I was speaking to this girl off Twitter at the time. Went backwards and forwards, and I was working at the Olympics.
Okay, yeah.
So I used to work like late shifts. So it's fun. Security guard, sitting there, start at 6, finish at 6 in the morning, but just basically on my phone, messing around at times when you're on your breaks. And so I was speaking to this girl, got a number, and then turns out that I was going to Aston Uni and she was already going to Birmingham. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll see you there, I guess. And we're friends on Facebook. And this girl's got like 800 friends, etc. And I'm thinking, yeah, she looks beautiful. Funny story. She tells me she's out one night. And I'm like, I'm here too. I was like, where are you? I'll come get you some drinks. She's like, yeah, I'm at the bar upstairs. This is in Risa on Broad Street. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm downstairs. I'm thinking, okay, cool. Go up the stairs. I'll come to that bar straight away and I'll get you some drinks. Gone up then. I'm like, where are you? I'm here. I've already got the drinks in. And she was like, oh, I had to go down the stairs. My mate's in the bathroom. She's like, I said, oh, how long are you going to be? I don't know. And I said, all right, fine. I'm waiting there. At this point, I'm like, let me just drink these down now and I'll get some more after kind of thing. And then, yeah, she's like, oh, she's not coming out. It's going to be one of those nights. I think I have to just take her home. And I was like, I'm trying to think. I came up these stairs. I would have seen you because I know what you look like. Fine. I think it was a couple of days later. I can't remember. She changed her profile photo on Facebook to someone I knew. And this guy lived opposite me on my halls.
Okay.
I was like, So I knocked on his door. I said, yeah, bro, how's it going? I said, how'd you know Isha? And he's like, huh? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, no, Isha, like, how'd you know? Like, you're on what's going on? And he was like, bro, that's not Isha. That's someone else. I was like, shut up. He says, yeah, bro, you're talking to someone else right now. I'm thinking, holy shit, what do we do? So we picked up the phone and we called Isha. And Isha basically said, I was like, yeah, who's that guy in that photo of you? Oh, he's a family friend, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, interesting. Because I'm with him right now. And he said, that's not you. She cut the phone. And so we actually contacted the person who it was. And she was like, oh my God, this girl won't leave me alone. And she actually like did some like weird stuff on Facebook and stuff. It was actually weird. Fast forward 10 years later, I actually met that girl on a date.
No way.
Yeah, we met on a date.
As in the...
Not Isha, the actual person.
Oh, the actual
And
person.
we spoke about it and we were like...
Wow.
And we've stayed in contact. We're good mates. When I told her like I was going to do this episode of you, she's like, oh my God, that is so weird. And it turns out she feels that it's someone quite close to home who did that. I was just thinking, yo...
It's always close to home.
I don't understand it. The mindset someone has to go through to want to do that, it's... Obviously, I work in the coaching space, so I can appreciate... I'm not judgmental. I can appreciate things have happened, why people act in a certain way. Do I agree with half of it? No. But I can accept the fact that there's something going on, an insecurity or something where you feel you need to act in a certain way. But yeah, that's my story of being catfish. So you're not alone in this.
I love the fact that you went to Aston as well.
Did you Aston?
Yeah.
Jeez! Damn, we could just spend the whole episode.
I was there the other day.
Oh, mad. It's changed a little bit.
Just a bit, yeah.
So yeah, no, as in, so like I have going back to what I was saying prior to my story. I can appreciate within this community what happens. Opinions get thrown out. You've been painted or tainted, whatever you want to call it, in this light right now. That why did you let that happen? Why are you now talking about it? And it baffles me and it hurts me when I see things like that, because it's like, you didn't ask for any of this. You were just being yourself, your friendly, warming self, didn't think anything differently, was just going about life. And now people have got an opinion and are judging you on the back end of you just trying to be a voice for the people. How do you deal with that?
You do not let their opinions stop you. You've got to dig your heels in, believe in yourself, trust yourself. If I didn't trust myself, I wouldn't have done the civil case. If I didn't trust myself, I wouldn't have agreed to join the podcast initially. The documentary was a little bit more of a sell because it is such a large platform. And there were so many approaches. So it wasn't, I probably wouldn't have gone out and pitched my story. I mean, I haven't done that at all. But if I was going to do something, I probably would have, coming from that media world, and that I probably would have tried to make it myself, really. But when you have certain approaches, then you think, well, if this can reach an audience this big, guaranteed, and help that many people, given how many the podcast had already helped, and the fact that I'd had such a positive response, because before the civil case, I was pretty much silenced, and after the podcast came out, I got my voice back. I mean, I don't know when the civil case ended and the podcast stuff started, but for me, the civil case would have been enough.
Yeah.
The fact that the podcast happened and the feedback was positive, and I dealt with every troll, pretty much. As many trolls as I could deal with, I did personally respond to each of them respectfully. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion, but it's what you're basing your opinion on.
See, I agree. From, let's say, a social media perspective, you're going to get a bunch of trolls just saying a bunch of nasty stuff. I've gone on live on TikTok a few times, and the things I get thrown back are just so funny. You have to just push past the comments and just it gives you a little bit of a chuckle. But I'm looking at it from a perspective where I know people close to home, and I mentioned this to you, that I'm doing a talk next week around men's health.
Oh, yeah.
And I know for a fact it's looked bad upon within certain communities if you've filed for divorce, if you've decided to leave a certain family for whatever reason, or career choices you make, or honing into your mental health, for instance. If you put your hand up to say, I'm struggling, help me right now, it's looked bad. I know people who have gone to the complete extreme. I say people, I know families where people have gone to the complete extreme and they've done really, really dark, negative things. I don't really want to go too much into it, but it's why weren't you there to help that person, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And it's I feel there is so much darkness that again it gets thrown at that individual or that family for what?
Yeah.
And you have been given your own element of darkness in heaps, right? People have had comments, and you still are able to deal with it. There's something you're doing behind the scenes, or there's something within you which I feel needs to be voiced loud enough for people to understand that.
Thank you.
This is a methodology right now to not allow that kind of shit to really get in your way. What is your personal tool that you've got within you? I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
I think I have truth on my side, right?
Yeah.
And I'm my faith means a lot to me, and I think that's kept me going, even when I was in the worst of it. So when I was in the worst of it then as well. So my faith kept me going, thinking God's going to get me through this. I'm praying He's going to put me through this for a reason. I'm going to be okay, whatever's going to happen. However it's going to come to light, if he's doing something wrong to me. All those things that were happening. It got me through it. When I came out of it, I was did have a bit of a bad relationship with God. Fall out with your friend a little bit, kind of. But, we're okay.
I like how you say that, because I always call God the man upstairs.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship with him.
Exactly.
That's it.
And that's the thing. Faith is personal.
Yeah.
But however people play out their faith, however people want to live their faith, I think that's an individual choice. And my faith means a lot to me. And I take a lot of guidance from it. And I think having that faith and knowing that he's on my side, and I'm just trying to do the right thing, and knowing I'm trying to do the right thing. I might get it wrong. I might not always be perfect, but I know my intention is to do the right thing. And I think that keeps me going.
Yeah.
And just the fact that it has helped people, that was, that's maybe 50 people that might not be today. They might have been suicidal. They might have been this, they've been living, I know somebody who I met who was raped by somebody in her circle. And because of what I did, by speaking out, she decided to speak out against that person. That person's now behind bars, and she, you know, she'd been suffering that for years.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. There's people that have shamed me and then come back to me and said, I'm really sorry for shaming you, victim shaming you, because it happened to me and now I realise. It's fine. I'm not, you know, it's just that let's not be judgmental. Let's not think that we know better, because you don't know me.
As in, it's not fine. Let's not say that, because everyone's allowed an opinion, but like the feelings that you then have to process to then get over that is not fine, right?
That bit's not fine. And I think a lot of that is to do with like the social media and the technology angle and that whole thing about we've changed as a society with social media. And I'm a marketer. I'm not stupid. So I knew what would probably happen with a lot of this stuff that was coming out. I knew there'd be a lot of trolling. I knew there'd be judgment. I had tried to speak to Netflix about some of this beforehand, about how they're handling this and how they're going to put it out there and understanding these things. But I think you're right, it's not okay. But we do need to question ourselves. I would never, and I don't think I have ever, on social media anywhere, gone out and written a nasty comment about anybody. There's no need to humiliate anyone. There's a way of saying things which doesn't humiliate people, which isn't nasty, which isn't, you know, you don't need to make anyone feel less themselves.
Yeah. I get that.
There's always a better way. And once upon a time, we lived in a world where we had newspapers. The media was, you know, like print media, all that other media where it might have lasted for a little while and those newspapers were thrown away. The comments that went around were in, your staff rooms, in your homes, in your cars, you know, out with your mates. And then after a while, it was forgotten. And if you wanted that article, you had to go and pay for it or go into a library and go and dig for it, right? Or ask for it. Now everything's there at the touch of fingertips, and people's opinions as well.
It's like, if you think, I look at it from a perspective, I'm a big football fan. The minute someone does something out of line on a football pitch, the abuse they get, right? And I'll put my hands up in front of a TV screen. I'm abusing all of them if they don't play to their abilities, right? But that's just as a fan's perspective. But when you read stuff and then it goes a little bit more further, it's more of a case of how are these athletes right now dealing with this? Because it's not their intention to fuck up on the pitch.
Yeah.
They're just trying to do their job.
You don't think any manager, and I think this all the time, because like Sir Alex Ferguson, Wenger, none of these people would have had the run they had in this day and age, because they started before social media and they were, you know, they've had their long run because they weren't constantly being criticised for a bad season or a bad few matches or anything like that. I think we as a society have a lot to answer for the way we behave online, and because we think it's okay. I meet people face to face that are online, and if I've met somebody who's on my Facebook who we've chatted a bit and whatever, and they've once upon a time, and we're talking about Facebook a long time ago now, I've always been strict with it. So we've met, they've given me a friend request, I've added them, met them again, and they've not spoken to me. I've just deleted them because I don't need. If you're not my friend, you're not my friend. Simple as that. If you don't want to talk to me, then I don't need to know you. So it's, and you don't need to know what I'm posting either.
Yeah.
So I've been private like that, and I think if this need to kind of be relevant, and everyone sharing their stories and everyone having these goals to aspire. There's great things about the internet. There's great things about social media, but there's also very dark, very bad things. And there's nothing that stops us between ourselves and our phone or our tablet or our whatever. And there's nothing stopping you from posting what you're looking at, stalking your ex, whatever you're doing, checking out your colleague, their personal life, and whatever you want to do. There's nothing stopping you, and nobody to say that's wrong, you don't do that, or don't do that to yourself even. Like, why were you going to torment yourself by checking out your ex? That stuff like that. Your friends once upon a time will look after you, but now if you're sitting there by yourself, wallowing, stalking, doing all of that, we are our own worst enemy, aren't we? That way. So we all know that thing about, what's my ex doing? What's he doing now? That's all it used to be before. You used to wonder. Now you stalk.
Because you can.
Yeah, exactly. It's made it possible.
Build a fake account.
So how do we stop That's ourselves. And if we haven't got those things in place to help us not do those things, social media's changed. It's at our fingertips now. When my stuff started, it wasn't at my fingertips. I'd log in. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was like 2006.
Yeah.
It was like Facebook, and you had to log in on your desktop and work and whatever. We weren't even allowed to use it at work. It was so basic.
Yeah.
And this stuff happened to me in 2009. It was still pretty basic, but even then it wasn't on apps on your phones and Android, all of that. It wasn't. So you still were limited.
I hear you.
But now we're not.
Yeah.
It's still there for you, right?
Very much there. And like you said, the trolls, they'll create a fake account,
2 seconds.
user 219876, whatever they are, and then they're just giving you negative
But they don't even have to do that.
Yeah.
You can just pretend to be somebody else that you know or somebody else knows. Or
It's true. You mentioned earlier, and I wrote this down, you said your PTSD is flared up on the back end of doing the show.
Yeah.
That again, like just saying that right now, someone's going to have an opinion on it, right? A negative opinion, right? And like, I don't think there's anything wrong in what you're doing in terms of being very unfiltered in regards to your story. You want to get it out there to encourage men and women just to be a bit more mindful moving forward, and possibly let them know you're not alone if you've gone through this. I think that's very admirable in taking that step. But when you mentioned your PTSD is flaring up, I can, like, if I'm looking at you right now, you seem very calm, composed, and quite chilled. Have you done stuff behind the scenes that people aren't aware of in regards to being in this state of mind right now? Have you been working with anyone privately just to...
Well, as soon as, I think people need to remember this all came out for me in 2018.
Yeah.
There's been a long time to process stuff. I had emergency counselling and help immediately. And I think I was really lucky because my doctor's surgery know me. I've been with the same surgery since I was a kid. Now the situation's different where the doctor's churn is different.
Yeah.
But at that point, the doctors and the nurses in the surgery knew me, and I wasn't like a stranger walking in. So they knew that I was genuine.
Yeah.
And they knew me as a person.
Yeah.
So I think that counted for something.
Yeah.
Because now you walk in and they're like, oh yeah, antidepressants, waiting list. But they immediately, emergency counselling, I was being checked on. I had the support of my doctor's surgery. But when I went back, so I had counselling, I had extended counselling. But again, I think that first 3 June to December, I was very much kind of caught up on like having this freedom that I hadn't had for so many years because I'd been locked in my room and under sort of the control of somebody else. And that's very hard to explain to people, but people who've been through it understand and it's narcissistic covert abuse. So it's really, really difficult and emotionally really difficult. I had that shock horror moment of learning it was who it was.
Yeah.
But then I also had that immediate relief of I've got my freedom back.
Yeah.
And I was so determined to not let that person have the rest of my life that I really pushed forward in the next 6 months to back to dating, back to this, working. I wanted to just not waste the rest of my life. And it was that kind of, I don't know, positive adrenaline rush that got me going, and having that counselling on the side where I'd go once a week, and sometimes I'd just sit in silence and cry for an hour and then leave and be back to normal. So there's that. I also think, having done radio for so long,
Yeah.
when you work in a public space,
Yeah.
and sort of many so media personalities, celebrities, we all do that. We leave whatever it is, the baggage at the door, and you go out there and you do what you want to do. You do what you're supposed to do, which is to entertain or to do whatever you need to do. So you don't bring your baggage to the stage or to the forefront. And I think there's an element of that with me, that where I'm able to be composed. I'm able to do that because I've got years of practice of doing that. No matter what I've had going on in my life, on a Thursday when I do my road show, it's, I'm all laughs and smiles and focused on my listeners.
Is that you still saying right now there's baggage still there?
There's always going to be a bit of baggage there. I mean, I had psychotherapy.
Okay, cool, sweet.
So after the counselling, there was a period where it got really tough in the civil case. Excuse me. I had a lady who'd also been a victim, Lindsay, who held my hand throughout the civil case, she'd had an awful experience. Having her hold my hand through the civil case, because it was really lonely to navigate, was really helpful. But I went back to the doctor and said, I need help. I need more help. They wanted to put me on antidepressants, which I didn't do. I haven't done. It took 2 or 3 attempts. There was a locum. And then I got, that's when I got diagnosed with PTSD, and that's when I got psychotherapy. And my psychotherapist was brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's when you focus on your own behaviours. So you learn about yourself. You learn about your interactions and why you react and respond and behave the way you do in certain situations.
Yeah.
You really get to break that down.
You identify your triggers and how you then can respond differently. Yeah.
And you learn coping mechanisms and all sorts of things. And it's that's been really helpful. I've carried that through.
Oh, sweet. Amazing.
So that's really good. And you just learn, and you learn how to deal with these things. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to need it again. And at the moment, with the documentary, they had somebody.
This is what I was going to ask, because I was like, since you said 2018 to like now, things have happened where it's been more, I would say, in the public space.
Yeah.
People are having more opinions, and it's like possibly recycling all of those feelings. If not, they've just been heightened even further. And you still turn up. So that is admirable to see it. And I'd like to think that you are still doing things behind the scenes to be where you are right now.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't have that many sessions. It's not like a regular session when you're doing the documentary, but I've had, I think 4 sessions or 5 sessions there just to they have to make sure I'm okay.
Yeah.
I have recently asked for another one because I'm not okay.
Yeah.
But the worst thing is, and this is the most difficult thing I find, is because of how I am and how composed I am, people are like, you're okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do I need to do? Me just telling you I'm not okay doesn't seem to be enough.
Why are you smiling for it?
Because I think crying through it would be worse.
Isn't it just letting out your emotions?
I do cry privately.
Yeah.
But, if I ended up crying on this podcast, I've not got an issue. Like, if I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry. I am not ashamed of it. I mean, you see me cry in the doc. Even in the original podcast, you hear me cry. And I've always said, if that happens, you need to let it be. Don't cut it out, because people need to understand how
this is true.
Awful it is.
It's true.
Some of the worst bits have been cut out of the podcast and out of the documentary.
Yeah.
Of things that happened, because they are really, really bad, and people don't understand how bad things get. But it seems if you've got a positive, if you've pulled yourself together, you're okay. It's victims aren't, and I spoke about this the other day. Victims don't. In order for people to take me seriously, I need to have victim mentality. I need to be sitting here crying for you to feel sorry for me, for you to want to feel like you need to protect me, because it gives you the power over me.
Yeah.
Because I'm now relying on you.
Yeah.
And if I don't give you that power and I'm saying, look, I'm handling this my way, I'm handling this myself, all I need is your support. And you're like, well, no, you seem fine. You're strong enough. You were stupid enough to do that. Then it gets people's backs up if I'm not acting like a victim. But the thing is, as victims, we need to be able to smile. We need to be able to laugh. We need to be able to reclaim our lives and be allowed to live a happy life. Why do you want to see us miserable? What do we have to do to prove to you how bad things were? Do we have to sit there and prove to you?
It's not even the proving side of things. It's more of just allowing you right now to just feel the way you want to feel and not have to put on this filter, this brave face to just make it clear that, I'm good, but I'm also feeling quite shit too. The reality of it is right now, like, I feel like I can hear it in your voice. It sucks. You mentioned that, like, you recently asked for another session, right? You deserve it for yourself right now, based on the journey that you've been on, right? And the things that people still don't even know about your story. You deserve it within you to do what's right for you. If coming on a podcast like this and you feel like I'm not going to smile, I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with you. This is how I fucking feel. And you just let it all out. Do it.
that's fine, but I'm really happy you're giving me the chance to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. So I'm going to smile.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it's adorable, but at the same time, it's like, because I work with a number of women who feel that within their communities have to put on this brave face and smile in regards to like stuff that they go through, and they have to just like be like, yeah, I'm trying to find a partner. Yeah, it's all working. It's
I'm
like,
not
no,
that person though.
fun.
And that's what people don't know about me.
Okay.
I think those people that you're talking about probably wouldn't do what I've done.
Fine.
Right?
Yeah, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't come out and voice it. They're working with me privately behind the scenes, but they wouldn't come out. And the encouragement I'm trying to like push towards them is that you're allowed to tell X, Y, and Z. This is how you're feeling. Back off and leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm trying to process something right now. But it is a process when there are like those community, what do you want to call it, boundaries or rules or guidelines you should follow, and you shouldn't speak up to certain people and say, and it's like, no.
Yeah, I think we when we were on the train, and I touched on it a bit then. So I've always been that kind of black sheep, odd one out, whatever it is. I'm the eldest. I've always kind of done things my own way.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of being different.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't ever go out of my way to be different. That's the thing. I'm not trying to make a point or stand out or do anything like that. But I've always done things. I've always remained respectful, done all the traditional stuff, done everything right, you know. But I've not been scared to question stuff.
Yeah.
I've not been scared to. I think I remember we talked about as a younger girl. I used to wear shorts before like everyone else. We wear shorts and be like, oh my God, you're wearing shorts. My dad doesn't mind. I'm not like sexualizing them anyway. You know, they were like shorts. They weren't like hot pants.
Yeah.
And I'd be just wearing them in summer because it was hot.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, and
Yeah.
so no one's ever been like as strict as my dad was with us. I've always been able to have conversations. I've always questioned stuff. In the wider family, it's not always great. But you know, I do I've got lots of cousins, like lots.
Yeah.
And often on like big occasions, it would be like the girls get up and wash the dishes and clean up and sometimes I've gone like, the girls aren't doing it this time, the boys are doing it.
Yeah.
And I've got all the boys together and I've made them do it, and like all the aunties turn around and look at me and glare at me like, what are you making us do? But I'm like, they're okay with it. They're having a laugh.
Yeah.
I'm supervising. I'm just like, it's all right.
Yeah.
Chill. You know, but it's not okay, even if the guys are okay doing it. So I will always try and do things a little bit like, I'll challenge those things, but respectfully, but I will like tongue in cheek say things to people, and I know it might rub people up the wrong way, but I just laugh it off. I just like, you know, do it in a nice, respectful way, and it's okay.
What's the one thing you're still healing from that the wider audience and people don't see? I know you've touched up on it, but
I think there's still, the police case is still open.
okay.
That's still tough. I think the bit that hurts is seeing how little, I think my opinion of the police has changed in this whole period. Working in the community, and I've worked with the police in the past and some of the projects that I've worked on and things, and I know how stretched they are. I get all of that, and I've been really patient with them. I was really sort of giving, it's okay, kind of that attitude, but my attitude's totally changed because it's not okay. For the number of victims that have come to me saying that because the police didn't do anything, people moved country to the other side, that people moved to Australia because the police didn't do anything, they're stalker, they're this so-and-so's out there. I think the whole, I mean, I had a meeting at the police station before Christmas, and I was there for, I think, 3 hours, and I was crying, like I said, like, I was crying throughout it. I had tears falling throughout the meeting because the incompetence. And I'm like, I've had a podcast team do stuff. I've had a documentary team do stuff. Why can't you? It's literally really frustrating. That, and I think as soon as, that's my biggest thing, it's holding me up. Things that are holding me up are kind of frustrating me because I feel like I can't get on with stuff.
It's like it's more now trying to find a way of letting it go.
It's not about letting it go because it's going to stay with you. Your traumas don't ever leave you, right? You learn to live with them.
Yeah.
And you learn to put them in a box and keep them there. And sometimes that box gets knocked over and it spills into different parts of your life. But as you go on, you learn to deal with it. You learn to cope with it. You know, that's going to impact this way. You prepare yourself for it. I was prepared for the trolling with the doc. You know it's going to happen. I knew it was going to happen with the podcast. I was so pleasantly surprised with the podcast, though.
Yeah.
That I didn't think the doc would be that bad.
Yeah. But
it was.
Fine.
And that's because it's 82 minutes or whatever it is. So, yeah.
I hear it. There's one area that I've put in here that I would love to just get in on. I know you verified the questions anyway, so we should be good to talk about this as well.
Go for it.
It was more about, because you touched upon it as well, like romance. How did you begin to like date again after going through this?
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Dating is not a problem, I don't think.
Yeah.
Not for me.
For the other person.
It's going to be for the other person, right? But even for me, it's not a case of trusting. How many people can do what that person did to me? Like, it's not, my scenario isn't like a standard scenario.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't being catfished by one person. Well, it was one person, but it wasn't one character. It was lots of them. When you've got phone calls coming at the same time from more than one of them, when you're in group chats with like loads of them, there's just no, and you know who they are, you know who some of them are, you're seeing their family, and all the truths mixed up with, you know, there's so many, it was so complicated. I mean, who else, how many people can operate at that level? Like, do you know, it takes having 2 phones, having 2 numbers, having however many email addresses, like for work, for personal, for this, for that, you know, that's hard enough.
Oh, yeah.
How many people can do what that person did?
Yeah.
Right? It takes a lot.
Yeah.
So you can't, and you've got to treat it like loads of people go through a divorce or a bad breakup and they say, oh, I'm never going to be with anybody again. And then they are. It's just got to treat it like that. Treat it like a divorce and a new thing, you know.
I think that's a good way of looking at it, but I can appreciate what you're saying right now. You're fine with it. It's more of the other person on the receiving end. So the person you're speaking to, it's trying to bring someone who's not going to be so judgmental either, I suppose, and right, or not going to have an opinion based on what you've been through, or at least not voice it to the way where it doesn't allow it to grow. Yeah,
and there's loads of those people out there. So like I said, you know, it's just the idiots online that are being like that.
Yeah.
In real life, you know, in IRL, like there's loads of people are fine with me, and I haven't hidden it from a single person that I've dated, and it's not been. I'm really good friends with some of them still. Some of them were the first people that came to see me after the documentary came out as well, even though they'd listened to the podcast or even, you know. It's not been a issue because they've got to know me as a person.
Yeah.
And I think once you know me as a person,
it's a different story after that.
It's a very different ball game.
Yeah. Would you trust someone fully again?
Why wouldn't I? I mean, if you're going to be in a relationship with anybody, right, whatever kind of relationship it is, but if you're going to be in a relationship, the whole essence of a relationship is, once you're in one, you're making yourself vulnerable to the other person.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
That's what a relationship is. And I want to be able to be vulnerable with somebody. I don't want to be, you know, as strong as I look to everybody, you know, I have needs. I have moments of weakness where I want comfort from somebody and I want my safe person. So why wouldn't I?
No, I agreed. You know, the reason why I say that, because I've spoken to people who have had like traumatic past, toxic relationships, and it's like in their head they want to obviously be with someone, but they can't get past what's happened, and it's like carrying a thorn in your side. It's a constant feeling that I can't kind of thing. And it's like, no, you can just take that thorn out, but doing that is the more difficult part, and then being vulnerable in regards to what then comes
It is, but I think it's also the other person realizing that certain things may upset me. I'm not going to call them triggers are triggers, and other things are like emotional memories, whatever they are. But no, like being if you've been open enough with that person, if that person is genuinely a caring person, they'll want to help.
100%.
They'll want to be considerate. They will check with you. If I do this, will you be okay? And most of the time, I'm like, yeah, of course it is. And it's just the fact that they've checked is good enough.
Yeah.
It's
that emotional maturity.
It plays a part. And who wants to be with somebody who's emotionally immature anyway? So
That's a separate story, honestly.
we all know that.
A lot of immature people out there. No judgment. It's a funny one. It's but
Stay out of my way.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God. It's see, like with the line of work I'm in, it's like you can't guarantee what turns up if off an app or when you meet someone at an event or whatever. Like, but I do feel there's an element of allowing someone to be open and vulnerable on the offset, and what that then brings is a very, very different person. So I talk about filters. This guy or this girl that you then first get introduced to or you meet will probably come in with a filter because they feel like they have to be someone else. Yeah. And the minute you allow them just to say what they're going through or get really open and vulnerable about some of their fears, etc., you start to see someone in a very different light. And if you can encourage that, you start possibly building more deeper connections with the people that are more right for you versus wasting your time trying to get to know someone just purely for the sake of the fact that they look okay or they said the right things. And no, like really, really hone in.
That was my first experience after everything. The person's a really nice person.
Yeah.
But they were trying to be because they desperately wanted to get married. And again, like with apps, so lots of people I'm going to say this because lots of people ask me about dating apps. I've never been, like before all of this, I'd never been on a dating app. And I am quite cynical about them. I have been on them. I have met a couple of people from them, but very quickly speak to them on a real level kind of thing and meet them. And you can discount. As soon as you speak to somebody, when someone's texting you and talking to you, it's always very different to speaking to you. And sometimes even on a phone call, you're like, no.
Yeah,
right?
it's true. But it's true. You need to find that stuff out.
You need to listen to people. And this is why this whole thing with the Bobby scenario played out so long, because I've never considered anybody who's speaking to just on the internet a real friend or a real, even if they're family, if you don't know them well and you've got to know them well online, you still need to know their personality, like face to face. If you were to sit and have a cup of tea with them or a drink with them or something, you want to know if you can chill with that person.
Yeah.
So that's why the whole Bobby scenario played out for many, many, many years, like in that way, and there needed to be lots of people to vouch for that person.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't bite.
Yeah. I hear that.
But even like on dating apps, I don't say no. But I just find it's very obvious for the ones that are catfishes. But for some people, but for me it is.
Yeah.
But I've always been that person, even on Facebook and stuff. I'd be like, no, that's the wrong one.
Yeah.
Out. But
I'm slowly starting to figure that out a bit more now, because it's like I tell my clients, I'm like, all right, your Hinge profile, whatever profile, your Deal Mill profile, whatever it is, put your most recent photos up. Put a photo up of you when you're at work, cheeky selfie. Put one where you're at home with your family, when you're in the gym, whatever it is that you're doing. Don't try and shy away from who you are right now.
Yeah.
Don't be posting photos of when you were on a holiday 3-4 years ago, because that's not getting you anything. That's not you right now. Let someone really vibe with you and see whether or not that works, because realistically right now, that's what you're going to be looking like when you're with them, kind of thing. It's a bit of an uncomfortable step to take, but the amount of people I've spoken to, photos from like 6-7 years ago, I'm like, yo, what are you doing?
People do all of that, and then when you meet them, okay, fine. I'm still not judgmental because I'm not somebody who's that much about looks, to be fair. I need to be able to vibe with somebody and just be as relaxed as this and just be myself. But that person, it became obvious that person was putting on a front for me, and when that kind of front dropped, it was like, well, why didn't you just, for me, it's like, why didn't you just say that in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a problem for me. Why are you hiding that? And it was that constant needing to hide or pretend or trying to act macho because that's what he thought a man should be for a woman, but he couldn't keep up that pretense. And I'm like, I would have been so much more comfortable if you'd just been straight with me from the beginning. I didn't have any issue in the first place, but you created an issue where there wasn't one. And I think that was unattractive for me.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the reason. I mean, we've been friends and it's not an issue, but like that. But he's a good person.
Yeah.
But he's just not the person for me.
Yeah, no.
But so stuff like that happens. I noticed that quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's the whole of like what you see online. What is real? Like, I remember one of my best friends years ago, we fell out and it was the beginning of this whole thing. And she was like, this is, I mentioned a few times there was some family politics going on. And I hadn't seen my friends for a bit. And she said to me, well, I wait for you to come on radio to know that you're okay. But yeah, you seem okay from your social media. I'm like, since when? You're one of my best friends. Since when do you use my social media to judge what's happening in my personal life? I'm not going to put...
Yeah.
You know me, I'm private. I'm not going to put when there's rubbish going on around me, I'm not going to post that. That's for me and whoever and my family or my close other friends, or that's our private business.
Yeah.
I don't want the whole world to know those things. And why would you? But you're my best friend, pick up the phone and speak to me.
Yeah.
And even now, I think I find myself quite shocked that I'm not following a lot of my friends on socials, as in, not deliberately. I'm like, I'm just not following you because I would just pick up the phone to them.
Yeah. Not fair. That's fair.
So I think that whole trust and that whole what we look like and what people are using the term catfish now with little things like that, just because you look slightly different from your picture, or even to yourself, like you're having a bad hair day or something. I've catfished myself. That whole term catfish itself is being turned on its head now.
It is
so blasé.
Yeah, it is very blasé. Like I won't not say either, because if I feel something doesn't seem authentic and real, the first word that comes to mind, I don't want to call someone fake because I feel that's a little bit more harsh, but you would throw in the word saying catfish because I use it based on like what happened to me. So that's my relationship with that phrase. But I can appreciate it is blasé and it is thrown out not in the right way right now. And yeah, it's a tough one. Like we spoke about it on the train. Like you can use that phrase in terms of AI getting your voice and calling up your parents to say, I need money, help me, send it to this account. And all of a sudden it's all, I think we've got no sort of technical terms in place for these things. Yeah.
And catfish really isn't a technical term because it's a pop culture term, which the meaning of changes.
Yeah. I hear it. In terms of like trying to like close up with this conversation today, and thank you for being very, very unfiltered, honestly. Loved it. I reckon I could have dug in a bit more deeper, but now if someone is watching this and they feel stuck in a situation like yours, what's the first thing they should do? And this is not necessarily being catfish, but being judged by their community.
Oh, but being judged by the community. Again, find the ones that are your tribe within. Something, there's going to be so many people that got things to hide.
Yeah.
We've all got our own skeletons. We've all got things going on. If you were to sort of delve into anybody's life, there's going to be something that they don't want you to know. And it's not because they're hiding it. It's just that it's private.
Yeah.
Let's understand that. People are allowed to have things to keep private. We're all allowed that.
Yeah.
So you'd be surprised at how many more people do actually understand. But the more people that you have this joined up, there's strength in numbers. The more of us that talk about this, the more likely it's going to be that we'll instigate some kind of change.
Yeah.
And, I spoke at an International Women's Day expo the other day, and there were lots of men there, which was great because catfishing and all this kind of stuff, it's often seen as a romance fraud that women are so vulnerable and stupid to fall for. It happens to men. You've spoken about it. My friend Swami spoke about it on his podcast with his wife. And, I didn't even know it was happening to him. He stayed quiet until my podcast came out, which was shocking. Other men, I know more men that it's happened to than women. Some of the stats, show in some surveys that one survey that I've looked at of victims, 60% of the victims were male. And it happens because it does. You know, we use the internet to weaponize it against people. You know, daring to publicly humiliate and shame people, or daring to spread rumors, or, you know, create an air of doubt around people. It's so easily done in any form. Forget just the romance side, you know, the catfishing, that kind of side, and the money side of it, just to like ruin people's reputations. Maybe you want to be better than somebody else. Maybe it's competition in something, or you want to go for a job or a tender, or it's anything. You can ruin anything using the internet. And I think that's what we need to be wary of. But if you can talk to people one-on-one, and that's what I'm finding. More people talk to me one-on-one. So everyone in my family, in my community, we've never sat around in a room and talked about it as openly as this, unless I bring it up, which makes people feel uncomfortable. But pretty much everybody's spoken to me one-on-one.
So you're basically saying try and find a community of people, whether it's one-on-one or within a group setting, just to get out.
You'd be surprised if you spoke to anybody one-on-one that they would support you.
That's what I do. Right? I do, right? So
yeah, but then one-on-one, when you find one-on-one that person supports you, then their brother supports you because you speak to them one-on-one, and then they both realise they're on the same page. Because they're often what's stopping people is like, if I support this person, will other people then judge me for supporting that person? But when you realise you've had that conversation, now I can say, actually, I spoke to your XYZ, and you know they're really on board. Have a conversation. So that's when you got to sort of join those.
Well, this event that I'm doing, like the idea of it is that like it's a men's speaking event. My dad's going to be coming, and I'm going to be talking about things that, not necessarily negative things that my dad has done, but address my opinion so that one, he can hear it in this format, but for like say the other sons that turn up to this event, knowing that it's okay for you to say these things and you're not alone. If you feel a certain way, this is how you can communicate and get this message across, and this is how you can build better relationships. So I agree, voicing it in a safe environment to begin with is a great place to start. And I think the first step to that is getting yourself in that environment, getting a bit uncomfortable, trying your luck with someone who you feel is in a similar kind of boat, and run it that way.
The biggest problem we have right now is there isn't a safe space for victims to speak. For me, it should have been the police. I should have been able to go to the police station, say what I needed to say, be heard without judgment, got my crime reference number, and they should have just dealt with it.
Yeah.
If they had dealt with it like that, the first instance, none of the rest of this last few years would have happened. You'd have no podcast, you'd have no civil case, you'd have nothing, right? All I wanted was accountability. That's all I wanted, and the police should have given me that. So the fact that isn't that safe space, I have not made myself available is the wrong line to use.
Yeah.
But if you can't find that safe space, especially if you're going through something like I went through, or doesn't have to be to that degree, if you can't find that safe space, there is like an email address on the web, like I've got kirat.co.uk on that website, and it is being updated as well, but the details at the moment are there. I can help signpost you to
the right
safe
individual,
spaces, according to what's happened to you.
Yeah.
So, and also give you I don't need to know your whole story, but I can advise
exactly
from my experience, like what to do next.
Yeah.
To help you.
Yeah. I think that's a brilliant place to start, because like I remember when I first started, like say coaching, there's like join some Facebook groups of other coaches doing something similar, because you'll find your people. And even then, like since when I went traveling, I mentioned it on the podcast, you go to certain countries where people are doing the exact same thing because they're processing their feelings, or they just want to have fun and rave or whatever it is, you will find your people. So it's just a case of taking that first step to find those people and seeing what happens on the back end. Because once you start to realize you are not alone, someone is going through something very similar, this is what they've done to help them, you possibly have tools now which you can then use in your situation moving forward. Last one, just to close this up. If you could say one thing to your past self before all of this happened, what would it be?
It's such a hard one. I think the thing that I want to say isn't me. So, but it would be, don't be so nice. Don't be.
Fair.
Do you know, like
Yeah.
that's not who I am. So I probably wouldn't change that. But what I think maybe I've always tried to protect people around me. So when we talk about these families, and because if something bad happens to me, then it impacts my family, and I wish I'd been less nice that way and not thought about my family and not thought about the impact on them, and not because had I done that, maybe I wouldn't have been in that position. I didn't speak up or say something or push something that far because I needed it to be done the right way because of how it'd be taken, accepted, etc.
Yeah.
You know, those kinds of the cultural impact. We do things in our culture differently, and that's what wider society doesn't understand. We make decisions differently because of the way our social cultures and norms.
Yeah.
And I wish I didn't respect our cultures. So, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes I wish I didn't respect those things as much.
Yeah. If you could, though, let's just say right now we stepped into a time machine where you went back to your younger self and the same story is going to play out. What would you say to that younger version of you right now? Knowing how the story is going to play out.
It's a hard one because it's so gradual. I don't know at what point I would have. I'm just like knowing how the story is going to play out. Because I think I did my best to push it on to other people, like my cousin. I think I would have told my dad sooner.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Fair.
Because he was with Bobby's family. And that was one of the reasons that was stopping me. He wasn't with me
Yeah.
during some of that
Fair.
peak time. He was actually in Kenya with Bobby's real family, and I was worried about if he knew what would happen out there.
Fair.
I wish I'd there's loads of things, like loads of moments in hindsight where you think,
Of course,
I
of
wish
course.
I'd done that. And
Yeah.
it's those things, isn't it? If I'd done those things differently. But as a personally, I think I'm less forgiving in relationships now.
Yeah.
I will not walk away sooner, but it's just, I think it's something that comes with age anyway. When you've been through relationships, like by now, at my age, I should know what I want.
Yeah.
I was in a long relationship from like 18, like on and off relationship with somebody, and I didn't know any different. I knew very little different. In between, we'd had a break, and I'd been in another relationship, and that was actually a really positive relationship, and I learned a lot from that. So when I'd gone back into the relationship, I knew what I wanted, and when I got into the relationship with Bobby, I very much knew what I wanted, and that was what that person decided to break down.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. They target your confidence. They target your goals and dreams.
Yeah.
That's what that narcissistic abuse is. Everything that's valuable to you, they will
They
deliberately
go into
target.
that. I hear that because like my therapist and my coach will like throw me these questions, and I've had it in the past. And I think one thing I've honed into personally when I look at my past self, knowing that this is how the journey is going to play out. You're going to do all your finance stuff, uni stuff. You're going to go in and out of relationships. I think the one reminder I have to like throw to myself that it's going to suck. It's going to be shitty at times. It's going to be great and amazing at times. Don't give up. Just keep going.
Oh yeah, always. You can't. I think I've always kept going, and I think that's the thing. You've got to believe there's a purpose for you.
Yeah.
You just got to keep believing it. And believe me, there's times where even like recently I'd be like, I just wish I didn't exist. You know, you have those moments. And I had them a lot during the period. And, you know, even recently, like I said, it's just like, what is my purpose here? You know, like you think, why am I going through this again? You know, like, what was the need? Why did I bother?
I hear you.
You know, you have those moments, but we all have those moments. But then when you think of all the good moments you've had since that moment, you've got to remember that there is good.
Yeah, that's it. It's that
if you
reminder.
stopped then, you wouldn't have had those good moments after.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Now, thank you, Kirat. This has been a very, very insightful conversation. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
I have. Thank you for having me.
It's all good. It's all good. I know you mentioned it earlier, but where can everyone reach out to if they want to get in touch?
So my socials are private, but you can. So there's a website, kiratasi.co.uk. There is information on there. It's in the process of being updated.
That's fine.
But you can still reach me on there. There's the basic groups that have helped me, and the different organisations that have helped me as well are on there. But if you want guidance on what to do next, if you find yourself in a really difficult position, reach out for help, and somebody will respond.
Perfect. No, thank you. Really appreciate that. And continue doing what you're doing. You're making a big difference. Thank you. Thank you lot for listening to another episode of the Unfiltered Podcast. If you've liked what you listened today, drop us a like. If you've got any comments in regards to what we spoke about, if there's something you disagreed with, or there's stuff that you did agree with, drop us a comment. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed yet, give us a subscribe. Whether you listen to this on Spotify, Apple, or if you're watching this on YouTube, every subscribe goes a long way. And look, why wouldn't you subscribe? If you like the unfiltered nature of the podcast, surely you want to be in tune to whenever the next episode is coming out, right? Anywho, I'll catch you on the next episode of the Unfiltered Podcast. It's been your boy Pri, and I'm signing out. Peace.